You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Carl Jung. From the very first moment you hear these words, you can feel Jung cutting through the illusions we build around ourselves. How many times have you trusted someone's promises only to be betrayed by their actions? How many times have you been charmed by words only to be shocked when reality showed you who they really are? Carl Jung understood that human beings live behind masks, that what we present to the world is often carefully constructed. But he also knew something deeper, that true character cannot be hidden forever. It always leaks out in subtle ways, in the moments when no one is watching, or when the shadow self rises to the surface. Jung's insight was simple, yet powerful. If you know what to look for, you can see beyond the surface, beyond the charm and the pretense, straight into the essence of a person. And that is exactly what we'll explore in this video. I will share with you 2 ways, rooted in Jung's psychology, that can instantly reveal someone's true character. 2 ways so clear, so undeniable that, once you grasp them, you will never look at people the same way again. And if you find meaning in exploring the mind with me, if you want to go deeper into the wisdom of Jung and other great thinkers, then I invite you to join this journey by subscribing to the channel, because here, we don't just consume ideas, we learn how to see life with new eyes. The first way to see someone's true character, according to Carl Jung's insight, is to observe how they treat the people they do not need. Jung spoke often about the persona, the social mask we all wear to be accepted, admired, or respected. It's the version of ourselves that knows how to shake hands, smile politely, and speak the right words in the right situations. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The persona is only a performance, and it always slips in the moments when nothing can be gained. Think about it. Anyone can be charming to a boss, affectionate to a friend, attentive to a client. That is not character, that is strategy. But how a person behaves when facing someone who holds no power over them, that is where the mask cracks and the authentic self bleeds through. If you want to see someone clearly, watch them with the waiter, the cleaner, the security guard, the stranger on the street. Notice if they acknowledge their presence, if they speak with respect, or if they diminish their humanity. Jung understood that these encounters are never trivial. They are windows into the soul, because when kindness costs nothing, indifference or cruelty cannot be excused as mere accident. They are revelations of inner truth. A man may stand before you preaching about values, yet humiliate a driver when he thinks no one important is watching. A woman may speak eloquently about compassion, yet treat a cashier as though they are invisible. These contradictions are not mistakes. They are the cracks in the persona, and they reveal more than hours of conversation ever could. This is why Jung's wisdom remains so practical. If you want to protect yourself from deception, stop listening only to what people claim about themselves and start watching how they treat those from whom they expect nothing. Because in those subtle moments of interaction, you will see the truth without disguise. Respect for the powerless is not a social performance, it is the measure of integrity. If someone can meet the eyes of a stranger with dignity, if they can speak to the lowest worker with the same grace they give to a king, then you know you have found someone of depth and authenticity. But if they fail this simplest of tests, if they use the powerless as outlets for frustration or as props to inflate their own ego, then no matter how polished their persona may appear, they have already revealed their real nature. That is the first way Jung teaches us to see through people, to look not at how they act when they want to impress, but at how they behave when they believe it doesn't matter. The second way to see someone's true character, Carl Jung would say, is to observe how they deal with their own shadow. Jung's idea of the shadow is one of his most profound contributions to psychology. The understanding that within every human being there exists a darker side, instincts, weaknesses, anger, envy, fear, desires we'd rather not admit. Most people pretend this darkness does not exist. They polish their persona, play the role of being moral, reasonable, or enlightened. But denial does not make the shadow disappear, it only drives it underground. And here is where the danger lies. When someone refuses to face their own darkness, they begin to project it onto others. They blame, they criticize, they despise qualities in people that secretly exist in themselves. You will see them lash out at others for faults they refuse to acknowledge in their own heart. This projection is a defense mechanism, but it is also a confession. If you want to see a person's true character, ask yourself, do they have the courage to admit their flaws, or do they constantly point fingers outward? Notice if they can say, "I was wrong," or if they twist every situation to escape responsibility. Observe how they react to criticism. Do they listen, reflect, and grow, or do they instantly become defensive, angry, and dismissive? Jung believed that maturity does not mean being without flaws. It means having the honesty to confront them. The person who admits, "Yes, I have weaknesses, I make mistakes, I have parts of myself I don't always like," is the person who can be trusted. Why? Because they are real. They are not hiding behind a mask of false perfection. But the person who insists they are always right, who never apologizes, who blames circumstances or other people for every failure, this person is enslaved by their shadow. They are not in control of it. It is in control of them. And if you spend time with such a person, you will eventually become the target of their projections. They will accuse you of motives you never had, despise you for qualities you don't possess, and punish you for wounds that belong only to themselves. This is why Jung's wisdom matters. It teaches us that strength is not in denying our shadow, but in recognizing it, naming it, and integrating it into our awareness. The true test of character, then, is not whether someone has a shadow, they always will, but whether they can live in peace with it. Do they channel their anger into growth, or do they let it poison their relationships? Do they acknowledge their fear, or do they mask it with arrogance? Do they take responsibility for their actions, or do they live in endless excuses? These questions reveal far more than polished speeches or outward success, because at the end of the day, a person who has faced their own shadow will treat you with humility, patience, and empathy, knowing they too are imperfect. But a person who denies their shadow will eventually treat you as an enemy, because they cannot bear to see their own reflection in you. This is why Jung insisted that character is measured not by the absence of flaws, but by the willingness to confront them. So, if you want to see someone's true nature, do not be deceived by how perfect they appear. Instead, pay attention to how they handle their imperfections. That is the second way to see through the mask. In the end, the truth is that words can deceive, appearances can mislead, and the masks people wear can keep you blind for a long time. But Carl Jung showed us that two simple observations are enough to pierce through the illusion: how a person treats those they do not need, and how they confront or refuse to confront the shadow within themselves. Together, these two reveal more about someone's character than years of polished speeches or carefully crafted personas. Because the way a person respects the powerless and the way they take responsibility for their own darkness are not performances, they are the essence. And once you begin to see with these eyes, you will not be fooled so easily. You will learn to look past the charm, past the intellect, past the masks, into the deeper truth of who stands before you. That is the gift of Jung's wisdom. It arms you with clarity in a world full of deception. So, the next time you meet someone new, don't rush to believe their words. Pause, observe, and notice these two things. You may be surprised at the clarity it brings, and at how quickly the real character emerges when the mask begins to slip. And if these ideas resonated with you, if you found meaning in seeing life through Jung's lens, then share this with someone who needs it and subscribe to the channel to continue the journey. Because here we go beyond appearances. and we learn together to see the soul beneath the surface.